Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, one and all. Hope everybody had a great Canada Day long weekend. Hopefully, maybe some of you had today off. It would have been nice. Wasn't exactly the greatest weather out this way, but depending on where you are, it was a little bit better than it was here. Let me get to the comments. We've been running around a little bit today. What's up, Steve? Joe Moore's in the house. Richard Dunlop. Yeah, baby. I was actually going to put your shirt on. Maybe I'll do it when we do a commercial break, Richard, just to show a little bit of love, pump a little tires for C4 Lures. And all they do for CFN. Cameron Tate's in the house. I am so glad to see Cameron because wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We might be doing a recipe this Thursday. Cameron, give me a thumbs up if it's a go. Christina's in the house. Love seeing the Scotties Outdoors on you. Christina, thanks so much for wearing that. Means a lot. And Mark Wolf's here with us as well. We also have the contest. The name wheel is already put together. Once you got the right answer, the correct answer, which of course was the red horse. It was interesting because there's certain words that we don't allow on CFN. And I actually had to go to the hidden comments to see a few of you because you had put sucker. And obviously, you know, we try to be as family oriented as possible. So there's a lot of names that are on there that may not necessarily make sense to everyone, but it is what it is. I also want to wish our good buddy Jason Barnews safe travels. He's on his way home from the cottage. And unfortunately, there was a lot of tragedy this weekend. It was a great long weekend. At least it was for some. I hope it was for all of you. But we did lose some people on the roads in the Ontario area anyway. I'm not sure where you're from and what went on where you were, you know, in and around your area. But around here, we did lose some people on the road. So big shout out to those families. Thoughts and prayers with them for those who have been lost and those who are still recovering. Because it's ugly, man. I'll tell you, I don't know what we're going to have to do to get things under control. But yeah, it's not nice out there, and our beloved Steve Shaw knows it firsthand. It was, I believe it was Serena's birthday, and forgive me, Steve, if I'm getting this wrong, but just recently it was Serena's birthday, and big shout out to the Shaw family. So giving, so generous, and with all your photo edits, I have to plug in a reminder. If you want a photo edit done, please put it in the inbox. It makes it so much easier for Walter, myself, and of course, Steve, who is the main dude, the guru, the go-to guy when it comes to all your photo edits. Thanks so much for submitting them, and we'll do our best to get them on our main page. We have not many announcements because there is so much going on. I do want to say this, and I don't have it with me because, of course, we were racing around, but the bait fuel that I think all of you have seen and I have shown you. We are going to be giving a bottle of that away tonight right after Walter's segment. And that is wink, wink. We just let the cat out of the bag. Walter's going to be joining us tonight. He's going to be here to talk about Jan Lake Lodge in the upcoming first annual Western Retreat. Really looking forward to speaking with Walter because it's not often enough myself, or anybody in CFN gets a chance to talk to this gem. And what a gentleman he is. So we'll be giving away a bait fuel bottle, as well as if you have ordered stickers. Thank you. There are 4 of you currently that have done so. The sticker packs. We are looking for one more, and we're going to put all your names on the wheel, spin it down to the last person, and we will give yet another bottle of bait fuel. And hopefully we'll have Bruce Tufts on here soon, because I know I'm eager to hear the science behind it. And I know Jim's been trying to get a hold of him for a fireside chat on Friday, but needless to say, we will be talking to him. I want you guys to experience what I've experienced. Now, is this like, like playing a flute and they all come to you? No. But what it will do is, if the fish is within the area, downstream of the scent, it'll better your chances. Maybe it becomes a confidence thing with you as an angler. Who knows? Either way, I'd like to do my very best to get as much of it in the hands of our CFNers, because I do believe, based on the science that I have heard, it's going to be a game changer. And for the tournament anglers that had prototypes to use it, also thought it was a game changer. So, Mark, well, fantastic. You got your stickers. That's awesome. John, nice to see you all the way from Long Point. Eve, how you doing, my friend? Yes, great point. So as much as we have the Western Retreat that's coming up on July 10th, our Horwood 4th annual CFN Retreat is upcoming as well. And the numbers are good right now. So my suggestion to you, if you want to be there August 14th to the 20th, you need to get a hold of the folks up there, Doris and Warren. Now, I'm not sure if you guys notice or not, but there is some copyright, and I'm not sure where, but because everything I get is off iMovie. But I'm not going to play those intros. I'm going to redo the music to those intros so that we can play them again. But it gets muted. And then I get these horrible messages from Facebook. Oh, you got to take this down. We're going to shut down your page. So I'm not going to bother posting any of that. I will simply post the banners, because I think that's better anyway. So, of course, Jan Lake is this coming weekend, July 10th to 16th. Walter's going to be on later on in the show to discuss everything that's going to be going on there. I know Barry and Sally, I think they're in Saskatchewan already, Walt, so keep an eye out for them. They'll be the ones in the big truck, and, of course, there's a million decals on it. So look forward to that. Of course, our CFN retreat, that is going to be August 14th to the 20th, as I mentioned. And as much as I'd love to play the video to give you guys a little bit of a tease, I'm sure you've seen enough of it, but we've got to change it, because the music, I believe, to that is there's something wrong with it, or the one for Camp McIntosh. But anyway, you want to be in amongst this group, we'd love to have you. And since it is starting to fill up, please don't hesitate. Call Doris and Warren immediately to make sure you book your spot. As I said, numbers are starting to climb. And, of course, last but not least, our beloved Camp McIntosh. And this is the first annual CFN/OFC retreat. This is near the end of September, Friday, September 23rd to Sunday, September 25th. And that's what it includes. That is the price, $380. It's not bad for 3 days, 2 nights, a cabin, your meals, boat, motor, gas, and worms. And for an extra night, it's $190. So if you want to make it a 4-day week, or if maybe a 5, reach out to Camp McIntosh. Tracy will love to hear from you, and will certainly point you in the right direction. Outside of that, I think I'm all done for announcements. Let me just go back to the comments to see if I missed any. Fish, yeah, Christina, you're 100% right. I think so too. I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone, but that bait fuel is something. Mike Howard also has some. Just trying to figure out how often to apply. It's a great question, and I think that's something that we'll have Bruce on to talk about, because I do find, because it is a water base, it does wash away from your lures. But something that was told to me by some tournament anglers that I think I am certainly going to try is put some of your favorite plastics in a Ziploc bag, and put some of it in the Ziploc bag. And basically you are, sauteing them in this wonderful scent, this wonderful solution, and keep them overnight in it. Keep them in it 24/7, and only use the bottle to recoat as you fish with it. But for the most part, it will start to impregnate the plastic, and it will do a fantastic job giving off the scent. So that is just a tip that I was told. Yes, these are all the links. If you need to go, Jan Lake is booked up, so unfortunately, you won't be going to Jan. But there's Horwood if you're looking for the webpage for Horwood, and of course, Camp McIntosh. And we're hoping to see you guys there. I heard applying it to your bait bags with the yes, absolutely. So whether it's the bag that it comes in from the manufacturer, Alicia, as you mentioned, great point. Or as I'm doing, I'm just putting it in a Ziploc bag because I like to mix mash a lot of different plastics, and I would run out of the bait fuel if I tried to put them in all the individual packs. So yeah, I put it probably 4 or 5 good squirts, and moisten that, maneuver it around inside the bag, and then leave it for a week, at least a week, if not longer. But it's good. Trying it this weekend. Well, Mike, we wish you nothing but the best in that. As I said, we have our good buddy. What's up, Rob? What's up, James? Nice to have you guys. We have our good buddy, Big Jim McLaughlin, coming up next. But before that, a word from our sponsor. Because why else would you fish with anything else, right, Jim?
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. How is my buddy Jim?
Well, I ran today something fierce.
Did you?
Woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, did a whole bunch of stuff, had a nap at 7:30.
Wow.
Then I got up and when I went on with you guys here at 3 minutes to 7 or something?
Yeah.
That was me sitting down.
Wow.
I've been all over the place doing things. I had to drop stuff off. We had to pick stuff up. Just a hectic day. So.
Well, you know what? As always, Jim, I can't thank you enough for joining us. And I do know how hectic your life is right now with everything that's going on. And as I said, for you to spend a little bit of time with us, it means the world, dude. So we appreciate it.
We took about 8 pickup truckloads of declutter to the dump over the last few days.
Now, you're going to be surprised, Jim. I said it as a joke, but there was 3 people that messaged me after last week and said, Scotty, is it this dump? And they were like pinning it on the map. So I have been sworn to secrecy because I don't want to see anybody, attacked by bears. So I'm going to not say anything about dumps. But yeah, there was definitely some interest from our community to perhaps get down and go through some of the stuff that you're throwing away.
So when I left you here a couple of minutes ago and I said I got to run out to the garage.
Yes, sir.
I was looking for little rubber bobber stops.
Okay.
So there's so much stuff in the garage right now. It came out of the house. You can't move. I need a little bit of extra space to move around as it is. I needed double that space out there. It's just nuts. It's busy. So I couldn't find it. So I look in. I said to myself, "Oh, I had that bag at the Sportsman Show. Some different stuff in it." So I open up the bag, zoom. There's the Texas rig box. It's got bobber stops and stuff in it. You think I can find the little rubber ones?
Oh no.
There's all kinds of the other ones. So I did get another one to do what we're going to talk about. But I open up the one box to look in it. And I just stop in my tracks, eh? And I see this.
That would stop me in my tracks.
When I came home, like I thought to myself, I don't know, I must have lost some money. I did something. I can't figure it out because I had delivered a lot of jigs. I had picked up some stuff for other guys and I had an extra bunch of cash, and I stuck it in the bag. And bonus.
Well, Neil is claiming ownership.
Buy a lot in the drawer. Yeah, that's
Neil,
fine. Yeah,
you have to
you can have this too.
Yeah.
Come and get it.
That's our skill test. Here's our skill testing question. The one who gets closest to the figure and not over of what is elasticed up there in Jim's pocket gets to keep. No, I'm kidding. But dude, that's fantastic.
I don't even know how much is there. You want me to count it?
Well, I'd probably rather you not, because then they won't even bother going to the dump. They're going to come straight to the front door. Ooh, I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Almost $800.
Wow.
But I looked all over. I tried to figure everything out. I was looking at it and I thought to myself, I must have lost it. Just not my coconut, eh?
Well, it's totally understandable. But listen, can anybody say that they've had that similar thing happen to them? I know I've gone into a pocket of some pants that got washed, and lo and behold, you pull out, $40 or something like that.
Yeah, but 40, I've done that too.
Yeah.
It was always in the fall. You get out the ice fishing clothes, and you'd find that whatever you were looking for, a $20 bill here, like $10 bill in the other pocket that you couldn't find while you were looking for the 20, or what, you know what I mean? It was just, everybody's had that happen. We bought a used fur coat once that had I think it was like wolf or something. I need a purse.
Wow.
Are you ready to dance with an old guy?
Tony.
Just watch out for the first one. When
right.
this hand's up here waving and you're looking at it, you're in trouble.
That's it. Pizza and beer on Jim, everybody's saying. Yeah. I dare say I would I would go out simply to enjoy the crust, never mind anything else. But
so I figure when I move, if we could get all the CFN members to come to the house, like maybe like 1,000 of them, and everybody just picked up one thing and walked to the new house, it'd be perfect.
Challenge accepted. Now the new house, is it far from where you are, Jim? Just around the corner?
No, if I was to open the back door at night to scream, you'd hear it.
Is that right, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Fitco. Is it up and running?
Yeah, it opened on last Saturday.
Oh, good for her. She must
I
be
got
excited.
my membership, and I'll be there tomorrow morning. So now when I go to the gym now, instead of it being a 3.5 hour round trip, it'll be an hour and 2 minutes.
Wow. You're going to save that much every week on gas that you just showed us.
Yeah, just the gas, because it's 45 minutes each way.
Yeah.
So that's an hour and a half, and then if you train for just an hour and a half, and like sometimes when I go to the gym, I get into it, eh? So not like it was a couple of years ago, though, boy. It's not good, but we'll solve it. But remember we were talking. I was talking about slip shots.
Yep.
So I went out and I found the sinkers. That was the important thing, because they're not easy to find. I showed you the bag I found. So all a slip shot is. See, I used a plain old bobber stopper, crappy one there. You can see it's a pink one. I like to use the little ones, but that's a split shot, but it's not. It's got a hole in it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So all it basically is, and that's a heavy one. I wouldn't very seldom use one that heavy. I used a bigger one so you could see it.
Yeah.
And all it is like a Carolina rig or a Lindy rig.
I was just gonna say it looks like a Lindy or a Carolina rig. Wow.
All it is, that sinker slides up and down with the rubber bobber stop. If you put on the smallest one and put on two of them, they'll really hold in place. But
Jim, just in case,
I got a rhythm wag on the back there, a little rhythm wag rig, and that is one of the money I've won with this when fishing gets tough. It's so simple.
And I was just going to ask you, is there a time of year that best demands a Texas rig as opposed to a Carolina rig and vice versa?
No, not at all.
Not at all, eh?
Not at all. No, no.
But that presentation, if fish are fussy, that is a go-to for you.
But you can't be in that real heavy cover. You got to be more on the edge of weeds and maybe fishing sand or gravel. Sand, especially, it works really well on.
Yeah.
But it just you can adjust the level. Like if you're fishing for smallmouth, you might want to have 3 feet between the bobber stop there and the lure. You can see the lure. You might want to have 3 feet in there. I've got like a foot, or maybe not even a foot. So you might want to spread your arms. But for walleyes, you'll generally want to keep your bait closer to the bottom. So you'd keep it closer. You could even bring it down to like 6 inches or so. And just any little plastic baits. I'm just using a Jackal, rhythm wag, drop shot type bait. You can put it on a little jig head too. Fish it. That's the nice thing about that. But that little rig right there, a split shot rig, man, oh man, it is just an absolute. It's the bomb. And it's one of those things, Scotty. I don't know why I stopped using it.
Makes sense.
Because it's legit.
How often are you popping that off bottom? The weight anyway.
Generally, just slide it along.
Just slide it along.
Real slow. Not in a rush to get it back. Not in a rush at all to get it back. Just move it a few inches. Let it sit. If you get a floating bait, it's really good because sometimes if you use a small enough hook, you can get it to float up off the bottom.
Yeah.
And when you stop, then it'll start floating up.
Gotcha.
But, now you could put a little foam float on that too, like a lot of walleye guys do.
Yeah.
It definitely would work. You see them on worm harnesses, in front of worm harnesses and stuff, just to help them up off the bottom, or floating snells.
Yeah.
You could put a little float just ahead of that too, and there's a good chance it's going to keep it up off the bottom. So,
what would be your go-to plastic presentations for that type of setup, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Well, basically, I'd want any kind of a little. I don't want something that's wiggling, like I don't want a twister tail or a shad or a swim bait, something like that. What I used to use we used to use Kalin's 4-inch Western weenie worms.
Yeah. Because
that's where the technique was really. That's where it really shone, was out west. Right. In those big reservoirs they have with the crystal clear water. So now our water here, because the zebra mussels a few years back has gotten so clear that it's something I don't know why I'm not doing it. So I probably will this year now though.
Got a couple questions here, and I would say, Steve, that is basically an egg weight. It's very similar to that.
Yeah, it's just a split shot.
Yeah, split shot with a hole in the center, but yeah, it's any kind of egg weight. They have the flat ones too, which work.
It's got to be really, really small. So, like I said, that's an 1/8 of an ounce, and it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
When I used to buy them off this guy, he made some fantastic stuff. This guy was a guy in Toronto. I used to talk to at the shows every year, and some of the stuff that he used to make was just absolutely just incredible. But I mean, really, really little ones. There, get out of here. There's an assorted bag there. You can see how small some of them are.
Yeah.
But you can see the one there. You can see the holes in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so it slides up and down, eh? But yeah, though some of them. Here's some. Like, look how small these are.
Oh.
Yeah. But see the hole?
Yeah.
That's the trick. So they don't, when they pick it up, they don't feel the weight. They don't feel the weight, and that was always the premise behind a Carolina rig or a Lindy rig or anything like that, because the sinker was stationary on the bottom to a certain degree. So
now, do people make the mistake of setting the hook too soon once they feel the weight with that, or no?
Yeah, generally I just wait for the rod to load up. You'll know they're there unless they just hit it and take it.
Right.
But generally it's one of those things where I'll just as soon as I realize the fish is there, I'll just drop back and just give it a sweep. You don't need any big Fandango hook set if you've got a good hook on there. You got to remember, right? Like with braid line, if you choose to use braid, you can. You just put on I would recommend a fluorocarbon leader to work with though, just because you want everything in your favor. But even if you wanted to use like 5-pound braid and use it all the way through, you don't realize you don't have to set the hook hard. You don't need that big anymore. It's just, it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. I noticed that one of the guys in the elite thing last year, or a couple of years ago, I noticed how hard he was setting the hook, and I'm just sitting watching. I'm thinking, well, I'm certainly not going to tell him what to do. And then I realized he was using he was talking about using fluorocarbon and monofilament, because the water was so clear, just so clear, right? And he was fishing with Senkos, and he was getting them underneath docks with spinning rods and stuff like that. He was giving it a good hoof to be sure he got a hook set.
Now, great question that James brings up here. I would imagine with this kind of setup, the smaller the hook, the better.
Yeah, to a certain degree. You got to really be careful with thin wire hooks, because when you try to set the hook on a really thin wire hook, if you set too hard, the hook will bend. They flex. That's why if you notice all the steelhead hooks you see out there, how small they are, those Gamakatsu 604s. I mean, you can put a piece of rope around a 10-pound weight with a Gamakatsu 604 hook, a number 1 or number 2 or something like that, really small hook, and lift it, like a 10-pound weight off the floor with it. It will not open up. They're super, super strong hooks. And I think that's just a really good example. But if you're doing it right and you're not trying to kill it, it's something that definitely works. But once that point catches, if that impact is still there, the hook will bend out. That's why you see a lot of times when you use those Aberdeen 570 hooks, the old bronze ones, that's in almost everything, and you'll see it. The hooks are bent out, like the point is up after you catch a couple of fish on a jig head, and that's because you're setting the hook too hard, or your drag's too tight, something like that. You're forcing that hook to get flexed, and you don't want to do that. But definitely finer wire hooks. There's something to them.
Great point. Great question. So those sinkers, Steve's saying they won't be in the dump. I didn't think so. Christina has a great question here. Jim, when flipping bugs for bass, what do you use to hold the plastic on the hook so you don't need to keep readjusting the plastic?
That's a tough one. You can, a lot of the hooks, like, well, here, I'll show you. I'll take this off. The hook that I had on here, you can see that right there. That's a mustad hook. That's called grip. I forget what it's called. I threw the bag out. It was the last one. Let me grab the bag out of the garbage.
It's a great question, Christina, because a lot of people have a lot of different answers. A lot of different,
There I am. Back to the dump. Grip. It's grip pin.
Fantastic. Right on.
And I've been using that. That's a really small, fine hook too, compared to most of the stuff I use. And that little thing right there really holds it on. Really holds it on. You can see it. It slides up over and holds it on. Something else we used to do is take a round toothpick.
Yes.
And put it through the plastic, through the hole out the other side, trim both sides, and it holds it in place. But I want, that's what we want all our money back then, doing that and stuff like that. But I often thought to myself, did I ever miss a fish because the plastic wouldn't move? I've had that cross my mind a lot. And then I say to myself, well, with the success we had, obviously it moved enough along the way. But I often thought, did we ever miss a couple of fish where it was one of those things where you set the hook and it was like, hey, you feel it, and it comes back and the plastic's, not moved. It hasn't been moved really because you had it buried in the plastic good. Yeah. It's also good too when you do that to keep it in place is, I'm just going to put this back in here. I've got this all wrecked now because I pulled it out. But there's two ways you can rig it. You can put the plastic right up over top of that, or you can rig it like this, where you pull it past it and see the little pin.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not inside the plastic. It's just sort of like holding it in the V.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you look at does it show the picture on here of the hook? I think it does. Nope. Crap. But you can see that little bit there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
See the way it just sort of tucks in against that and it holds it in place, or you can take it up over it, pull it back down. It's right in the middle and it really holds it. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just the perils of using it. I remember days when I used it fishing in a tournament when we were fishing a lot of deep milfoil. I've used a bag of 50 of certain plastic baits. At the end of the day, they'd just be at every corner of the boat. And pick them all up and stuff them back in the bag. I used to give them to a buddy of mine that used to make plastic worms. And he used to melt it all down to one color. But what was it he used to call it? It was what they did at Bobby Garland's. It's the guy who invented the Gitsit.
Yeah.
Out in Nevada there. And they used to call it sweep. Because when they were done, at the end of the day, whatever plastic had spilled on the floor, been used, cut off, duds, whatever, building the stuff, they would put it all in one big can, put it in the smelter, heat it down, or melt it down, and just shoot it through whatever they were doing. And it used to be sold as sweep.
Interesting.
And there was a number that they had, like you would have got sweep 257 because it was the 257th time they had done it.
Right.
Or then 2 weeks later or a day later, whatever, it'd be sweep 258. And that's guys just a phone and say, hey, can I get some more of that 258? Nope.
Interesting. There's a couple things here now. Steve has said, or actually, sorry, it was Richard that mentioned crazy glue.
Yeah.
And I know the room is split half and half. Some folks feel that the scent of the glue is given off. I don't believe once it's dried, there's much of a scent. But Jim, you can weigh in on that.
Yeah, when I did, I don't know anything about glue smelling like that or being bad to the fish. But when I fished in tournaments, I did use scents. I used fish formula, and it was a greasy, oily, horrible stuff to have around. But I didn't use it to make the fish swim across the lake. I used it to cover up any bad smells that I might put on it.
Now, I know this is becoming a more traditional way for some of our tournament pros and elite anglers. They use the shrink tube to trim to make your own bait a little bit safer. I've seen it used to wrap and hold Senkos or any kind of worm type presentation. But I don't recommend this for everyone because if you don't know how to shrink the tube per se, it can end up burning you.
Well, I've been looking at that thing that VMC has out now. That where are they here? Come out, wherever you are. Oh, I got it. VMC has the little rings now that you can use. And they are really, really cool. They have a little ring. I got to put it on the pliers here so you can see it.
Okay.
You can see it's a little round ring.
Oh, yeah.
And see the hole in the top?
Yeah.
A little bump that sticks up on top here?
Yeah.
So you put it on the bait, you open this up, you slide your bait in, you let this down, it snugs up on the bait. There's different sizes. And then you put your hook through here. So your hook would go, once you did this, you would take your hook, when this was on the bait, this hook is probably a little too big for this. Yeah, it is. It might go. Yeah. So you put your bait like so. Whoops, it came off. But that's the way it would be with your bait in it.
Ah, okay. Wow. I
So
have not seen
it. So it keeps it in place. It doesn't come off. I've always been bad for that. I've never realized. I've always taken not a cocky attitude, but whatever. I'm using a new one every time I put it out there. I don't care if I have to go through 5 bags in a day.
Yeah.
I put a new one. That's why years ago when I worked with Strike King, one of the nice things was they had that stuff that they had Elastec, which is what Z-Man is, and Strike King had a contract to use it. And they had a stick bait called the Zero.
Yep, I remember that.
They have an for an Ocho now. I don't know whether the Ocho is made with it or not now, though. But it was nothing to catch 5, 6, 7, 8 fish on it.
Wow.
even smallmouth. They would jump. It wouldn't come off, but it was just awesome stuff. But those little rings, it's another one of those little things that are made by VMC. They come about what is it they call them? Crossover rings, and that's I cut the top off the pack because
Now, are they fairly new, Jim? Because I've never seen
yeah,
those.
I think they came out last year.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Whoever came up with that idea, because of course the traditional rings that you would use, that special tube, they sold them at Bass Pro and just about anywhere else.
Yeah, that's like a little bit extra work.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the same presentation as that would.
But I like these because you just got to put it on.
Yeah.
Go like so, and it's done, and really easy to do.
Right on. Fantastic, Jim. Listen, it's been a half hour. I don't want to keep you any longer because I know you got a lot on the go. Is there anything upcoming this week that we need to know about with Big Jim or Just Fishing?
Well, Tammy sent the pages this morning.
There it is.
It's all done.
Download your free issue as Steve has posted the link.
It's not uploaded yet. The pages are with the guy that does it. But if you ever wonder how it's done when she's checking on things, when she's going along, there's everything that's in it is all there. Oh, and I got my boat home too. I mentioned to you.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, I actually got the boat home, so we'll have to get that wet very, very soon.
Right on.
And it's shaping up to be a good summer. But this week is going to be a catch up on stuff. I'm almost caught up on jigs.
Nice.
I should have said that. Watch the phone. I'll get off on the phone. Here, my phone's been vibrating like heck.
Yes. I can hear it. Well, I'll take a moment while Jim...
Nobody looking for jigs.
Okay, fantastic. Jim, hopefully we do get some good news for you and Tammy and the house and everything else that's going on. We need some calmness.
Me too. I'm going to go down and frustrate myself out back.
All right, you do
Boy,
that.
It's amazing how I've never seen this happen. There are no panfish. There's nothing in the bay.
Wow. Any ideas why?
I don't want to speculate. I got no idea.
Wow, that's strange.
Got no idea. Even Chong said the other night we were down by the water, and he said to me, "I don't hear any panfish. You know the way they pop under the pads eating the bugs?" I said, "I haven't heard that here for 2 weeks."
Wow. Interesting.
That last night that I was down there, when I went down in the afternoon, and I had about 6 or 7 fish chase a frog and not get to it. Like, the frog's sitting there. I'm not setting the hook. They didn't get it.
Yeah.
They just were around it. And that was when I went down in the evening. And the first cast that I made, I got one about 3.5 pounds. And then I had a couple of others blow up on the frog again. One dusted it good, and like knocked it about 3 feet in the air. But he never came through the mat. Like, the frog's sitting on the mat on top. And when he hit the mat, it just punched the frog up in the air.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Jim, hopefully you'll be able to report on back to us next week on that. But in the meantime,
everybody be safe out there. Go I'm going to hopefully catch a fish. I'll post it before you're gone.
Right on, buddy.
Just above the horns.
Just take care, dude. All the best.
Take care, guys. Be good now.
Peace. And as Jim just mentioned, Lawrence is coming up next after a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There he is, Lawrence Gunther. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy.
Bluefish Canada in the house.
You got it, man. You got it.
Good for you, my friend. Good for you. Well, I know everybody really appreciated the rapid fire of last week. I would ask for you to replicate that, but I mean that would be hard to replicate. You had an incredible amount of information that you shared with us. Any follow-ups from some of the stuff that you reported last week?
There's no end to the news. No end. No end. If you want to get all the news, you got to go to Bluefish Canada and check out the Bluefish News right there and sign up and get it delivered right to your inbox. But in the meantime, let's talk. I got a little reflection to share on teaching youth to fish. I thought we start off with that. Then I got 7 more little tidbits of news from across Canada I want to share. And then a different take on the slip rig that we should have a look at. I got some sample right here. So let's start with the youth then, Scotty. Is that good?
Absolutely. You run with it, my friend.
You know, I was taking my grandson. My son was at Wonderland, believe it or not, with a buddy. So I said, well, you know, here's a good chance to just take my grandson, just focus on him and fishing. So my buddy and I, he took his boy, I took my grandson. We headed out to one of our favorite bass lakes. You know, it was opening day in Quebec for bass, and we caught bass 6 different ways, right? And that was important. I wanted not just to do it one way and catch lots of bass, but to catch largemouth, smallmouth, 6 different ways. And to witness my grandson, like he's just 15 now, and in the last year or so, he's really like become a fishing fanatic just in the last year and a half or so. And so it was interesting to my buddy watching this young man, my observing him through my buddy's eyes, and I realized there was so much I never taught him, right? Like we focus on the tackle, we focus on the rods and the reels and the pairings and the gear and what to use it for, but simple things like keeping your rod tip up, managing your drag, how to hook a bass on a frog and then actually get it out of there. All these things we take for granted that we learned over time, that we learned from others, that we learned through trial and error. And yet, it's really just that time of taking the time to pass on that knowledge to these young people. And no one's going to teach you that on YouTube. No one's going to tell you, hey, keep your rod tip up when you're playing that fish near the boat. Cause that's, you got to let the rod play the fish. Don't put your rod tip at it, especially when you're using barbless hooks.
Absolutely.
So he landed, I think 3 bass by the end of the day. I just kept passing him rods. I said, here, try this. Now we're in this location. Try this. And, try this swim bait and try this, Ned rig. And he was getting bit and he was trying things. And then my buddy passed him his frog rod and said, now there's some lily pads, cast back into those lily pads. So, we knew he was good with a bait caster. He actually found a bait caster before I could even give him one. And I didn't even know he was into bait casters, but he found one last summer hanging in a tree on a canoe trip. And he fixed it up with an old Shimano Bantam. It's probably 25 years old, and he fixed it up. He oiled it. It's his love, man. And he found this thing hanging in a tree, and it works beautifully. So I think it's important, right? Just to take the time and teach these kids how to do it.
And one thing that I will say that it really helps, and as Mark Wolf has eloquently mentioned, it's a lot easier when there's action. Taking your kid out trolling for lake trout. Unless he loves being on the water like this guy was. Yeah. Fishing was probably not something that I was introduced to immediately and fell in love with immediately. Just because that's what we did. We trolled our cottage lake for lake trout and, steel line, Williams wobbler, and just be patient. I said, well, Dad, in all fairness, God love you. God bless you. But, we've done this now, 6 weekends in a row, and not other than catching bottom, we haven't caught a darn thing. Yeah. So can we maybe go pitch into the riprap? Because someone named Izumi told me that's where the fish hang out. And lo and behold, that's where we went, pitched in, got a couple smallmouth, and
yes.
So it took a few weekends before I got hooked. But to your point, Mark, absolutely. Get the kids on the fish.
Mm-hmm. Panfish is a great place to start. And then bass. But you got to bring them to your favorite lakes. But, some of those favorite lakes are a bit of a drive, right? So, Mike and my buddy and I talked about this because he was bringing his 9-year-old son on his first big day of fishing. Big day, right? Not fishing, but a big day of fishing, a long day. So it's an hour and 20 minutes to our favorite lake out there each way. That's a lot of driving. And then it's sunny and it's hot. And so it's a big, long day. And just keeping them interested in mixing it up and shaking it up and trying, moving around and trying different things. So, yeah, but it was still a big day. But you know what? Both these boys, they rose to the challenge. They never complained once. I mean, the 9-year-old sat down, I think around 4 PM and said, I think I'm done. And we were done, we were all done by 6 and going back to the launch. But they just had a great day, and they talked about it afterwards, because Mark's right. They caught some fish. There were some slow times, and there was a lot of good times. So it was a good day.
And as Steve has also mentioned, make sure you have lots of snacks, because that really does help kill the time as well.
Yeah, lots of snacks. And the one lad brought a tablet, but he didn't pull it out. He knew enough not to pull that thing out, and he loved fishing too, because he's been fishing with his dad, and so at some point you got to take him on that big adventure and really start to iron out the little things that are going to keep him from being frustrated, so that he learns these things, so he actually lands fish, right? And he learns how to unhook them and all of that stuff, but catching them and landing them and all of that. Yeah.
Well, and I know Jim talks about it, I know Jay talks about it, and now you're talking about it. The importance of not necessarily getting the right rod, getting the right reel, getting the right line or plastic presentation, what have you. Mm-hmm. It's about teaching them how to hook a fish, how to feel that bite, how to properly present whatever it is that you're fishing with. Those are the small details, but are huge, because let's face it, anyone who's over here to the right in the comments knows by now how to work a Senko, knows by now how to work a jig, knows by now how to work a crankbait, depending on the kind of fish. Like Yeah. And this was all something you either learned yourself or it was taught by someone else. And maybe you learned it right here at CFN Live. But needless to say, as I said, we've all learned some way, somehow. So not only do we have to be stewards of the land, but we also have to be teachers of the passion.
Yeah. And like I would catch a fish on a technique and I would just pass him the rod. I say, okay, see how there's fish here. I just caught one and he saw it. And I said, here's my rod. Now you do it. And then I'd sort of walk him through this new technique, and he was using my rod. And I was just, I'd pick something else up, out of the rod locker. And I didn't want to, spank this kid, with a big show on how good I am at fishing. I wanted him to realize, there's fish out there, just to keep his interest up, and present him these different techniques and work him through the schooling on these things. It was a crash course on a bunch of stuff. And then he pulled out a jerk bait, right? And he caught one. And so that was the end of the day. It was his last fish. That was his first jerkbait fish. And he really wanted to catch one on the jerkbait, and he did. So and he just brought the one rod. I said, "You didn't bring the spinner rod I gave you?" "Oh no, I just brought the one rod." Just the one rod,
Unreal. Professors of passion. That's what we are. Prolonging and passing it on from generation to generation. And at the end of the day, that's all we want our legacies to be. Yeah. So for all those like Mike Howard, Steve Shaw, and anyone, Alicia, who have gone out, taken a kid out, shown them the right way how to fish. I salute you. Fantastic stuff.
All right, 7 bits of news, and then the slip rig I'm going to show you.
All right,
hang on. Got to get to the top here. Okay, so you know what? We've been hearing about this. Was a big problem in the 70s, and the band 5440 named their band after this problem. Is the Alaskans grab Canadian Chinook up north in the Alaskan waters, and those are Canadian fish that come out of our rivers, swim north for the summer, and before they can come back 2-3 years later to spawn, they're grabbed by Alaskan commercial fishers. So it's so bad. Like, they had a huge record year last year for Chinook harvest up in Alaska, and we closed our commercial Chinook fishery last summer on the West Coast because we never had enough fish. So now I read this article, Alaskans worried about the chum fishery being so low, and they're thinking there's too much interception going on. You know what they're blaming is that big trawlers that are out there fishing for pollock and other ground fish, scooping up Chinook and other salmon as bycatch, and then tossing them dead back into the sea because you're not allowed to keep bycatch normally, right? So you have to return it even if it's dead and crushed in the back of your net. So So there's just a cascade of issues going on there. But I'll tell you, Canada is not dropping this, man. We are advocating and getting the government to, not yet, hopefully soon, to advocate with the Americans to say, hey, stop catching our damn fish and letting them go, let them go by, let them come back, because we got nothing, guys. You're keeping them all, and you're increasing your catch. They increased their quota this year up in Alaska on Chinook salmon by 30% because they had such a great year last year. And we're again, having no fishing, right? So that blows, right? Blows.
It does. And you shared some great news with us last time in regards to the pens and the pen rearing that goes on out the West Coast, and how that's no longer going to be allowed.
Steering that out 2 years. 2 years, they know now that in 2 years those pens have to be out. So don't bother restocking them, because you're just going to be pulling out a whole bunch of like 8-inch, 10-inch fish that are worthless in 2 years. So don't waste your time.
Wow. So there's that, and now you're saying this. So
the interception's huge.
Incredible. Well,
it's coming up again.
Hopefully it's not true that there isn't a lot of bycatch that's being wasted and being thrown overboard. But
no, that's
what it is.
Yeah. We got some battles coming up on these West Coast salmon, man. We got no choice, because this is recreational fishing, this commercial fishing, it's indigenous, food, ceremonial, and social fishing, and commercial for them as well. I mean, it's all shut down. It's they're all hurting. Okay, let's see what else we got here.
Okay.
Oh, good news. So same thing always happened on the East Coast, right? Atlantic salmon, Canadian and American Atlantic salmon, I shouldn't say American, U.S. Atlantic salmon, would leave and go up into the North Atlantic and go around Greenland. And then the Greenland fisheries would scoop them all up in their territorial waters, American and Canadian Atlantic salmon, right? And just scoop them. And there was one gentleman, just like on the West Coast of Canada, there's one man who owns all the big, large commercial salmon boats out there now. I won't mention his name, but Jimmy blah, blah, blah. There's a gentleman in the Greenland, and he owns all the commercial fishing boats there. And he realizes that he's caused a problem, because Atlantic salmon spawn over and over again. They're not just once. So they're a little bit more delicate. It's not, they don't have like send millions up the river because you only got one kick at the can. They send hundreds up the river because they plan on coming back. So you catch those hundreds or thousands from a river, no one's coming back. And this has been going on for too long. The Atlantic salmon fishery on the East Coast of North America, Canada, the United States, is just suffering and suffering and suffering. The numbers are going down, even though we're rehabilitating rivers, tearing down dams, putting in catch and release, or no fishing, or low water, summer, no fishing, all these rules. And the numbers are just low. So now there's an agreement between the Americans, the Greenland, Canada, Denmark, to reduce the stop fishing up there when they've reached half their quota. So instead of arguing about the quota and getting the quota down, because once you get the quota down, it's hard to put it back up again. The Greenland fishermen have agreed, okay, once we get to half our quota, we're going to stop fishing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that could, if that lasts, that could really help the Atlantic salmon fishery on the East Coast, because it's struggling, and that goes back years, right? Years.
And is it? Can we say that it is because of the number of top predatory fish? When it comes to the food chain, there's so many. You want to say alpha male type fish out there that are dominant, and there's too many species. Could that be an argument?
There's a movement of, toothy fish moving in from the south as the water's warm. There's no doubt about that. Toothy fish that are living in warm water have to swim really fast and be really aggressive if they want to live. And where our fish, are very docile in the wintertime, in the cold, they slow down. It's just a matter of toughing out the winter. So less big teeth, more just fat, and being able to keep their metabolism ratcheting it down over the winter to withstand the winter. Two different types of survival techniques. And yeah, these toothy fish are coming north little by little for sure, but that's not the answer. Dams were the answer. Overfishing was a problem. Dams were the problem. Overfishing is a problem, but mainly just the interception of Atlantic salmon from North America by the Danish and Greenland fishers up there, because that's where they go. That's where they spend their summers. And when you have, tens of thousands of Atlantic salmon swimming out off the shore of your island, how can you say no, right? You say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go out there and catch a bunch of those and make a bucket of money. And that's what they did for tens of years. So, and when you got these giant ships with these giant nets, it's all possible. It's all 100%. Possible.
Jeremy brings up, you mentioned the toothy critters that are coming up from our southern waters into the more northern waters, because of course, the North Atlantic current is starting to warm. Jeremy's asking, you hear about all the sharks out in Nova Scotia. Well, I know you and I have talked about the numbers of great white that are showing up. And here's the thing. We're not 100% sure that those great whites weren't always there.
They were.
Because we didn't have the tagging programs. We didn't have the sonar programs that we have now. But now that we have these, we are starting to see more and more sharks show up, obviously, because of the seal population is starting to grow. I have my concerns about the bluefin tuna fishery that, it might, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But, as anglers start to reel those up, that they're going to be a target for a great white. But talk about, because I know it's Shark Week, or at least Shark Week is upcoming. But talk about what is going on our East Coast when it comes to the shark populations.
So great whites were a predator fish off the coast of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick forever. They loved our seals. They loved the seals. They came in the summer to eat the seals, and they went back south again in the fall, or in October, November. And then they would come back in the spring. In May, June, they'd be back, right? Mm-hmm. So they stopped coming because we killed all the seals in the 1960s and 70s. We paid fishermen $10 a head to kill seals because the fishermen were saying they were eating the cod. So we had to kill the seals because they were eating the cod. So they did. So then there was no seals. So no seals, no big great white sharks coming. But now the seals are back, maybe 7-8 million of them, and 5 different species. And they're doing very well. Whatever. But so the great whites, they're back. They're back, to eat the seals. And it's a good thing because we got too many of them. And that's a good thing that the seals are back. But we're also seeing they're coming back sooner because the water's warming up sooner and they're staying longer. And other sharks that are more warm-blooded sharks, like bullhead, there's 400 species of sharks roughly. Out of that, there's about 5 species that love to chomp down on people. And bullhead are one of them, bull sharks. So they're starting to drift further and further north because the warmer weather. So and the warmer water. So that's going to be a problem, right? We're going to get more fish, more species of shark up here that we never had before. That we're starting to see that sort of come north, and they're moving north sooner, and more species are moving north little by little. Yeah, it's happening.
It is. And as you mentioned, it's a good thing because if you've seen some of the footage of our seals, they used to eat the entire fish that they would catch. Now, because there are so many inland cod that the folks are noticing that they are being selective in what they eat. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, they're just eating the organs out of the fish, primarily the liver. Yeah.
The liver, the fatty bellies, all the high protein stuff, right? Yeah. The high, the stuff that makes them get big and fat. Yeah. Not the bony backs. And so absolutely. It's but now with the great whites, the seals don't have it's no free reign anymore. Used to see the large colonies of seals moving across from PEI to New Brunswick and Newfoundland, and the thousands. Now they're huddling on the shoreline, my friend, and they're looking a little skitty, a little worse for wear. Oh. So the tables have turned against the seals, and we've just seen the start of that now. Wow. And the sharks are getting their own beating with great whites coming in. There's a certain type, and not great whites, killer whales, or what Big Jim calls orcas. There's a certain class of orcas or killer whales that love to eat big things, and that includes great white sharks and their livers in particular. So they just come up underneath and chomp them and know exactly where the liver is. Boom, 5-pound, 10-pound liver, done.
Yeah, it's well documented on YouTube. There's some great videos that they share. I believe it was from a Shark Week either last year or the year before, where it was becoming an epidemic that these big great whites or juvenile great whites were washing ashore, the dead carcasses, and no one really understood why.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it became painfully obvious that it was a pod of orcas that were doing the damage. And as you know, as much as we love to keep numbers in check, it strikes us as odd. I know it did me, that really orcas attacking great whites. Wow.
Yeah, and seals and sea lions and there's orcas on the west coast too that are roamers, and some even eat whales. Some even focus on whales and sharks. So there's 3 categories of killer whales. The ones that just like eat Chinook and salmon, and they're a very small number. You know, we hear the J pod all the time off the west coast there near Vancouver, Victoria. And then there's ones that like to eat mammals, so they cruise the shorelines and they eat seals and otters and things like that. And then there's ones that swim further out and eat sharks. And you know what they look like, because they're the ones that have their teeth are all worn down from chewing through shark hide. So
there's also some great videos. If you're a dolphin lover, you're not going to enjoy it, but there's some interesting videos that have been shared on YouTube as well, where orcas will come out of they'll breach, and in an effort to attack, bump into, knock out dolphins. And that was well documented on a video that I recently saw. So yeah, when it comes to the orcas, no one's safe.
No kidding. No kidding. It's nature. It's nature, and the survival of the toughest, right? It's not all Disney.
No,
let's see what else we got here.
Right on.
Oh yeah, bad news. Thompson River steelhead. I think I heard there was 100 that made it up the river at spawning last year, right? 100.
What?
Yeah. And these are the steelhead that we're getting 30, 35 pounds. These are the big steelhead, right? The big trophy steelhead that people came from around the world to catch. And now they're down to maybe 100, 200. That's it. And that they counted, and they gotta get past all the nets, all the commercial nets, and then they got to get back past the gill nets and the Fraser, and to get up to the Thompson. So it's not easy. It's not easy, and but
it's hard to believe, Lawrence. Yeah. When you talk about our West Coast waters, they were so vibrant. Like, you would never in a million years thought this would happen.
Yeah.
100 fish. Oh, that's scary.
It was 30 years ago this week that we closed the cod fishery on the East Coast for 2 years. We closed it for 2 years. It was an $800 million a year industry. And it doesn't seem like much now, but 30 years ago, $800 million went a long way.
It sure did.
A lot of jobs. I had my cabin out there. I bought my cabin out in Cape Breton in 1986. I sold it in 2000, and witnessed that. I was cod fishing right up to 1992 in the summers, just hand lines on these commercial dories, and just witness the collapse of that fishery. Right, it's absolutely bonkers, and they're pointing the fingers at government. The government points the fingers at them, but in the end, it was just these giant trawlers. They just vacuumed up all of them, right? And they could find them, and they could vacuum them up until they were gone. They had big catches until there was nothing left.
Oh, no.
And like the boat I fished on had a compass and a radio. That's all we had, a compass and a radio.
Wow.
And these guys, these was like second, multi-generation cod fishers and lobster fishers, and they fished lobster and they fished cod in the summer, but they just knew where to go because of generations and generations and 500 years of doing it. 500 years they did it, and then all of a sudden they couldn't. So yeah, we can wipe them out. We can.
Well, and to Steve's point, this is the thing. When you hear numbers of like 100 fish returning to a vibrant river like the Thompson, how many of those 100 fish would actually naturally reproduce, and how much fry, smolts, whatever would come out of that hatch if in fact it was only 100 fish that were doing the reproducing? Not a lot.
No, it gets to be a real crapshoot, right? The odds are stacking up against them unless we do something. Now, what else we got here? Oh, here's some more bad news. 43% of the rivers around the world have excessive levels of pharmaceuticals in them. So how do those pharmaceuticals get into those rivers? Through our urine, right?
Yeah.
We take medicine, we pee it out. It doesn't get taken out by the sewage treatment facilities. And 43% of the world's rivers have excessive levels of pharmaceuticals in them.
It's not surprising because, as I said, quickly, I had mentioned that they had done a study over on the West Coast, and in the fat of salmon, they were doing all kinds of testing to find out what the highest concentration was. A lot of them were hoping. A lot of them were expecting it to be maybe mercury or anything else other than ibuprofen. The number one contaminant in the fat of those salmon was ibuprofen. Where does it come from? As you just mentioned, us flushing it down the toilet, our urine, but it just goes to show how much of that stuff we're actually using, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, like everything from antidepressants to, the pill and all of that, right? All of that. I mean, we use a lot of pharmaceuticals. And so, yeah, we need to find, it's not, it's treated versus untreated sewage. We need to find a better way to deal with this because it's not the things we see. That's the problem. It's the stuff we don't see, says the blind guy.
Only you would get away with that. Well played. Well played.
Hey, man, sometimes it's, you got to think of this stuff through. You can't just depend on what you're looking at, right? That can be a distraction. That's just the smoke screen, the floaty bits. That's
I don't want to rush you, obviously, because
okay, all right.
I know there's more that you have to tell us.
Yeah. Okay. We've got three things. Okay. New Hampshire. I thought this was interesting. New Hampshire, no fishing with lead. Any lead weights under an ounce in size, you're not allowed to use. They found 8 more dead loons this spring that had digested small split shot. So that goes into their gullet. The gravel in their gullet grinds up the split shot, and it's a big dose of lead into their bloodstream, and they're dead in a day. So New Hampshire is one of the few states in the United States that banned fishing with small lead. So yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there. Oh, okay. Here's something good. Port Alberni. These guys have got their shit together in terms of salmon, and they're having one of their best sockeye season returns yet.
Oh,
there's some good news, eh?
Finally, some good news.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody's ever had smoked sockeye salmon, you'll truly appreciate that news.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah. And this is where they split it up. They sit at a table with the commercial, the indigenous, and the rec guys, and they split it up. And they say, okay, here comes a pulse coming up the channel. We're going to get this many. You're going to get this many, and then you commercial guys can net this many, and then you got to get out of here. And they figure it out. And then they all know how many have to get up into the spawning areas, so they know they have to let those go by. And they got it figured out, man. They're working this shit. And who doesn't get involved at the table is the government. They just take notes. They take notes, right? They report the science, and then they take notes on what everyone says. And then, it works well.
And James had mentioned that many of the Northeast U.S. had banned the use of lead fishing tackle, and I did hear that there are a few more states as well that have done this. So thanks for adding that, James. Go ahead on your last point, Lawrence.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the report's been published on the proposal to create a marine protection area in the East Basin of Lake Ontario. There's 2 other marine protection areas in the Canadian side of the Great Lakes, one on Lake Huron, one on Lake Superior. They all allow for recreational fishing. They think recreational fishing is an important part of that, and why they want to have a marine protection to make sure recreational fishing and other fishing can continue. And this is what they're saying here for the East Basin. This is Bay of Quinte, right? Important walleye, smallmouth bass. It's super. One of the hotbeds, the most exciting areas of fish in the Great Lakes is right there. Yep. And this is pretty cool. So, we can fight it, or we can say, hey, we want to know more about the fish and where they spawn and where they feed and where they move, migrate around. So let's study this more. But as long as it doesn't mean an end to fishing, right? And there's no sign of that at all. So this is about protecting the fish to make
And
sure there can be fishing.
For those who are skeptical, and I know there's some of you out there that are, anytime government gets involved, you get your backup, and I totally understand that. I totally get that. But let's hope what you're saying, Lawrence, is true, that this doesn't all of a sudden allow the government to step in and just get rid of fishing opportunities. Because I would be amiss to say that if they were to shut down the Bay of Quinte, just because it would cause a revolt, and I don't believe that our ministry or anybody in our government would do that, but it just gives them the ability to, and it's one step closer to being able to. So all you who are skeptical, I get it, but let's hope it's for the sake of the fish.
Yeah, and look, it's not the government that's going to drive that. It's going to be environmentalists,
Right.
the PETA people, right? And
Yep.
and based on maybe faulty science.
Yep.
So we got to make sure we got the good science, the right science the right things are being studied, and these decisions are science based, not just reactionary or politically driven or ideological, right? And the only way we're going to do that is if we're sitting at the table and making sure everyone knows how important fishing is to the economy. $8 billion worth of economic generation on the Great Lakes. $8 billion. This is not chicken feed, right? So no one's going to just go in there and try to shut that down without losing their next election. You know what I mean? So
I would have to agree. Have to agree. What's upcoming in Bluefish Canada news?
No, here.
Oh, you got one more.
Look, sinker.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Hook. Number 8 octopus hook. 8/0 octopus hook and a 5-ounce lead sinker. What do you think I'm going to use that for?
Sturgeon.
Yeah, baby. on the St. Lawrence River. I got my Quebec fishing license, and talking to some guys that do it, and I'm going to go do it, man.
Good
100-pound, 150-pound lake sturgeon. I think that should do it.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, it's interesting. There's different rules out there when it comes to sturgeon and the handling of sturgeon. And I know, Lawrence, you will be well versed on what you're allowed and not allowed to do with those sturgeons. But of course, there's a general consensus out there that typically we're not supposed to hold them out of the water. That it's not necessarily countrywide, but there is a growing, I would say, movement to making sure that these fish stay in the water. Yeah, they are not taken out of the water. Is it like that on the St. Lawrence or no? I
don't know. I don't know. Like I'm gonna have to check the Quebec regulations on that, because I'm going to be fishing under their regs, and they're surprisingly different than Ontario in a lot of ways. Like if you have your Quebec fishing license and you're on the Ottawa River, you can actually keep muskie over 36 inches and eat them. So they have a lot of different rules than we do in Ontario, but on the West Coast, when you're looking at the green and white sturgeon, you're not allowed to lift any of those if they're over 100 pounds. You're not allowed to lift them out of the water. The juvenile sturgeon, the meter, 1.5 meter fish that are maybe up to 40, 50 pounds, you can bring them aboard. You can scan them quickly. You can tag them and release them. They want you to tag and collect data on the juvenile, because people stopped doing that. They were just tagging and collecting data on the big sturgeon, not the little ones, because there's so many of them. And then everyone thought, oh, we don't have any young sturgeon anymore. What happened? Well, what happened was no one was tagging them. So now you can still bring the little fellas into the boat, but the big ones, you want those hero shots, you get in the water and you're not lifting it out of the water. Head's in the water. You can hold it. You can see the back of it. You can see the tail. You can see the nose, but you're not lifting it up for that, grip and grin kind of shot.
Makes sense. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, Lawrence, as always, dude, thanks so much for sharing your time with us, sharing your knowledge. And of course, I love the rapid fire approach to the news, even though it may not always be good.
We'll keep it up, buddy. We'll keep it up, man. Have a good week, my friend.
You as well, my friend. You take care, Lawrence. Thanks again. As always, a wealth of information. We are so lucky to have him because, as I said, if you aren't in the know, haven't been able to read it, it's not on your news feed. You'll get it right here, and a good helping of it. In the meantime, last but not least, our good buddy Walt is coming up to talk about the Western Retreat. But I thought, you know what? I'd like to slip this commercial in for everything that Richard Dunlop does. Here's an ad from C4 Lures.
C4 Lures, the only moldable, shapeable hard plastic lure on the market today. Just heat it up in hot water and shape the lure to any fish catching action you need. You can speed up or slow down the roll of the lure depending on the current speed or the tide. C4 lures are available now for all salmon and trout species. Ask for C4 lures at your local tackle retailer. For more information, visit c4lures.com. C4 lures. It's like fishing with dynamite.
Fishing with dynamite. It's like fishing with Walter then. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Good. How are you doing, buddy?
Well, you know what? I'm really excited to talk to you, not just because of the Western Retreat, but you know what? It's because of you. And anybody that doesn't know Walter doesn't know what we know. Our legacy members, you are a gentleman. You're very professional in your approach. You are a perfectionist, because I see that in your edits. But generally, as I said, you have a heart the size of me, and we love you for it, dude. And you make us very, very proud with all that you do for CFN. Now the gushy stuff is all over with, but I mean it, and I know a lot of other folks, including Steve and our legacy members, and of course the community feel the same, would echo the same sentiments. Now, the Western Retreat, it's coming up this weekend. I am, first of all, very, very thankful for you to embark on this, to host this, to spearhead this. But what possessed you, one, to want to do it, and the reason you picked Jan Lake Lodge as the location?
Well, there was obviously, getting people from Western Canada out to Ontario to attend the original retreat is not the easiest, especially if you're bringing multiple people. You want to bring fishing gear. Now with the price of gas, it's definitely a large undertaking. So there was a call for a Western retreat to be held that make it easier for people out in the Western provinces to attend their own retreat. And so we ran with that, and we started making some phone calls and started checking around, and the selection of lodges here in Saskatchewan isn't where it is, let's say, in Ontario. So we do have slimmer pickings here. So originally I was looking for a lodge that would do the meal plan and the whole 9 yards, just like it is in Ontario. It's tough to find where, now they do exist, but they are typically a fly-in. So we still wanted something that people could drive to. So one of the lodges we approached was Jan Lake, and they were on board right away. They loved the idea. They were excited to have us up there, and so that's where it took off. There's multiple cabins. Each cabin is a slightly different price range. So the way the pricing works is, if your cabin is $300 a day, and you can fit 5 people in that cabin, well, you take that cost divided by 5 people over the course of the week. You kind of get how your pricing works out. The difference from the Western Retreat to the Eastern one is we are doing all of our own meal prepping, meal planning. So we have breakfast. Everybody gets in their boats. We fish for the day. Pack a bag lunch or whatever you want to do for lunch. If you want to come back to camp, every cabin's got a fully modern kitchen. So we fish till about 4 o'clock. I think they want the boats in at a certain time. Then we all gather on the barbecue, around the barbecues on the decks, and we cook up some sausage, cook up some fish, cook up some burgers, steaks, whatever you want to do, and we have a great evening.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I know Barry and Sally are in the province of Saskatchewan, I believe now. They were very eager and excited to get there, as are the rest of our CFNers who will be heading up there. We look forward to all of the pics and, of course, all the videos. But, yeah, we'd love to get to know the owners, give them a big shout-out. Thank you for hosting this, as it is our first annual CFN Western Retreat. You've done a fantastic job, as well as a host of other Saskatchewan CFNers, just sort of waving the CFN flag and pumping our tires. And we can't thank all of you enough, because there are a good number of you. But, obviously there's some names that come to mind, like Rob and Lloyd. And I know I'm going to forget a couple, but you guys have done a fantastic job. And it was just, I don't know, it was apropos that the first outside of Ontario CFN retreat be held in the province of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, we're pretty pumped. It's going to be exciting. We're personally, I'm leaving Saturday morning already. I'm going to be up there Saturday night already. Most of the other folks are going to start arriving on Sunday. But looking forward to a great week of fishing and laughs and stories and memories and photos and building friendships.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? You know, we're as we mentioned tonight, we are all professors of passion, and we try to push and pass it on as much as we can. But you know, the nice thing that COVID has sort of relinquished its grip on our country and most of the world, we're able to get back to doing what we do best, which is, of course, building community. And as I said, looking forward to seeing all the smiling faces, all the stuffed bellies, and as Steve said, you had me at fish and steaks.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, everybody can bring whatever food they want to drink or food they want to eat and drinks whatever they want to drink, you know. So we're gonna have an ice box full of variety of stuff. You know, we're gonna barbecue it up in the evening. We're gonna sit around the bonfire pit and tell stories and reminisce and make new memories and just have a great time. You know,
Amen.
then do that 6 days in a row or 7 days in a row, whatever it is, and then yeah.
And I hear you don't have to go too far from the lodge to get good fishing.
No, look, I mean, there's great fishing within eyesight of the lodge. It's a huge lake. Anybody wants to go look on a map, find Jan Lake up in northern Saskatchewan. It's beautiful, clear water. I know people that have gone to that lake many times, and they said that fishing is world class.
Right on. Well, Walter, obviously you're going to be hosting probably some kind of tournament out there. You've got our Bait to Go outdoor flavors mix for all of the fish fry. You know what? I can't think of anything else that I need to add other than I hope all of you get there safe. I hope all of you have a great time, and I hope the weather cooperates.
Yeah, we hope so too.
That's awesome. Well, listen, dude, I know you're out with Lynn, so I'll leave it at that. Again, I can't thank you enough on behalf of all of CFN for all you do and the fact that you're hosting this. I know you're excited, but I'm sure there's a little sense of nervousness because I know how I felt that way the first time doing it at Horwood. But
Yeah,
rest assured, it's all going to go well.
I'm pretty sure I'm overthinking a lot of it and probably trying to, you know, I'm putting lists together, things to take, and trying to remember what we should all bring. And but I'm probably going to end up bringing too much stuff. But you know, I still believe that, you know, and I've kind of told people this before, but proper planning is key because success and failure, neither of them happen by accident.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said it any better myself. And on that note, obviously, you know, you're going to want to pack rain gear. You're going to want to pack some bug spray, basically dress for the elements, and it could be anything. I mean, you get all 4 seasons in the province of Saskatchewan, so be prepared for that. But yeah, as I said, in regards to the fishing, in regards to the fun, now, are you going to be doing a day 1, day 2, day 3 photo pack and album? Like, do they have Wi-Fi? Like, you're going to be able to share any of it with us while you're there?
We don't know what the cell coverage is going to be like there. Apparently, there is Wi-Fi up at the lodge, so hopefully, I'll be able to log in at some point and upload a bunch of photos. You know, kind of throughout the week, and we'll start a photo album, and you know, we'll do the best we can. Absolutely. It is a big unknown because, like I said, I've never hosted a retreat before, so I'll never have to have one up here. So it'll be a learning curve, but we'll do the best we can.
Oh, it's easy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Last bit of advice Tony offers. Yes, absolutely, Tony. Earplugs for all the snorers. Yeah, good advice there, my friend. Walt, thanks so much for joining us tonight. As I said, have fun with Lynn, and we will see you on the flip side. Safe travels to all you and everyone else that's going up there. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the pictures and videos and getting a glimpse of what is going to be the first annual Western CFN retreat hosted by Jan Lake Lodge. Looking forward to it, my friend.
Cheers. Good night, all.
Right. Peace. Great having him stick around as long as he did. Means the world to us. Good from Calgary, Alberta. Oh, right on. So they're in Alberta. Oh, my dear Lord. So, of course, last week we shared a picture, and that picture was the picture of a sucker. And you just needed to guess what kind of sucker it was. And where is the picture? Why can't I see it? It was from our good buddy. Oh, there it is. Trevor Barnews. And that is a great red horse. And if you know your suckers, you'll know how great of a red horse that is. But all of you who got it right, I want to congratulate you. You have been added to the wheel. And we are going to spin to find out who is taking home the bait fuel. So let me share the screen. Give me 2 seconds here. Share screen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And yes, sir. All right. Hopefully you can all see that. That is the wheel that we are going to spin. As always, last angler standing. So let's start spinning and find out who's taking home the first bottle of bait fuel. First one. This is the first elimination round spinner, and it is going to be either Tony or David. Tony, well, not often you're eliminated first. Incredible. All right, let's remove Tony. Sorry, Tony. Let's see if we can slow down the spin time a little bit, because that is a long spin. All right, next spin here. Let's find out who is next to be eliminated. Next on the, Jeanette. Was really hoping you were going to win. You got it right. Hopefully, again, everybody can see this, but we have eliminated Tony and Jeanette. Grease the wheel. Yeah, grease the wheel. Absolutely, Tony. Just seeing your comments now. Let us spin again as we have eliminated Jeanette. And Mike Howard is next to be eliminated. So sorry, Mike, but you definitely got the right answer. Next to leave us is going to be Mitch Sinali from the Drag Pullers. Mitch got the right answer. We are down to the remaining 5. Is it going to be Erica or Alicia? Wow. Erica, you got it right. So sorry for you being eliminated. Now we're down to the Furious 4, Steve Shaw, Nick, Alicia, and David. Let's see who is the last angler standing. And is it going to David? Oh, wow. Sorry, David. You are next to be eliminated. 3 anglers left. Let's see who it's going to be. Is it going to be Nick, Alicia, or Steve? Oh, no. Alicia. It's down to the dudes. It's down to the dudes. Steve Shaw, Nick. Let's find out who is the last angler standing and the winner of the bait fuel. And it is going to be the one and only Steve Shaw. Steve Shaw is our winner. Congratulations, Steve. You won the bait fuel. Fantastic on you for doing so. And we will be adding yet another fish to the list. And we do it at the end because we want all the comments to show up right at the end. So we have another fish for you. You need to identify this. You don't have to give the scientific name because it may not be exactly what it looks like in an encyclopedia. But here is the fish that we are going to be identifying next. Again, the Barnews family has graciously and generously offered up this fish. This is, again, for a bottle of bait fuel. If you haven't tried it, hopefully you will. You'll get a chance if you win, if you guess this right. It is a hybrid. It is a hard fish sometimes during spawning to identify. It's got beautiful colors. It is mistaken for all kinds of different types of hybrids and different types of fish from that family. But I invite you all to put a guess in the comments. Only one guess, please, per person. And the correct answers will be added to the wheel next week. That is the fish. Just name it. You don't have to name the family. You don't have to get into the scientific names. But again, I want to thank the Barnews family for offering that picture of that fish up. It can be difficult. It has various names. Jason Barnews will be with us to claim the correct name, and I will do so when he arrives home from the cottage, and I hope they arrive home safely. In the meantime, love you all. Really appreciate the fact that you show up here every Monday and you are so dedicated to what it is that we are doing here at CFN. And with the CFN retreat, on the eve of the CFN retreat, the Western edition out in Saskatchewan, and of course the one that's coming up in Horwood and Camp McIntosh, watch us grow. And we grow because of great people like you. Dave, take us out, my friend. You folks enjoy the week. All the best. And see you tomorrow, Turdy Tuesday.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.